Update. Am I the a-hole for not moving out of my apartment so my brother can have it? Original post. I, female 23, have an older brother 32. I moved out of my parents' house earlier than him and found a small place for myself that is really close to my job. The place is not the biggest. It's a one-bedroom apartment, but it is enough for one person, and rent is very cheap, so I'm extremely happy with it. I put a lot of work into it and made sure it's my little happy space. Recently, my brother started staying over now and then. I don't have a problem with that. He works the night shift, and my place is also closer to his job than my parents' house. The problem began when he started bringing more and more of his stuff to my place. He brought his PS4, started gaming in my living room, and is overall just being a terribly inconsiderate guest, and treats me like our mom. I brought this up with my parents, and my dad suggested that I should let my brother live there and get myself a new apartment. He said I should look for a bigger place, because my brother makes less money, and he could afford my place, and I could just find something better. But I don't want a bigger apartment. I have no plans to have a family or partner where I would need anything more than one bedroom. And I put so much work into personalizing my apartment that this feels so unfair. My parents said I'd be an a-hole for both kicking my brother out now for staying over and not giving him the place. Is that true? Edit with some additional info. My brother does not pay rent to me. He used to stay here for only a couple of days, but it's been turning into weeks. I did contact my landlord as of today. She hasn't responded yet, but she's nice, so I hope she'll understand my situation. Also, additional info, I didn't know my parents or my dad would react like this. I thought he'd help me talk to him as we don't have a bad relationship. I'm trying to figure out why he thinks my brother should have my apartment too, but my dad hasn't been responsive since that conversation. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Please do not let your family bully you into giving up the thing you worked hard for. Your brother is a grown man, 32 years old, and can definitely find another place if he needs to, and can't be a considerate guest. That is your space, and you need to put your foot down and have a strong backbone, because clearly your parents are going to side with him once you make it clear you aren't giving him the place. Also, why would you need something bigger? What you have works for you. Again, don't let anyone bully you or manipulate you. He's 30. Let that man figure his own stuff out. He isn't your responsibility. If you need him out, kick his butt out. Not the a-hole. Opie, it is your place. Don't let him belittle your feelings. Tell them if they are so worried for dear helpless brother, then they should help him pay rent to an apartment of his own. Easy as that. Opie should bring all her brother's belongings to her parents' house, then change the lock if he has a key and let them deal with it. If they're so worried about their struggling son, they can deal with him. I can't decide if your brother has always been your parents' favorite, or if they are just so desperate to get a 32-year-old man out of their house that they are willing to screw you over in the process. Either way, not the a-hole and get that parasite out of your happy place ASAP. Came here to say the same. It seems like Opie's parents have a favorite child and Opie is used to accommodating her brother. I'm sure their parents are just desperate to get him out permanently now that they've had a whiff of freedom. He's probably just happy taking over his sister's home without actually having to pay for it or being responsible. I suggest Opie changes the internet password. That seems to work on many teens. Yikes. Kick him out with his stuff and change locks. Move him before he can claim tenant rights or squatter rights or whatever. Hurry. Not the a-hole. Your brother is a grade A mooch. Agreed. Change the locks ASAP. And tell him in writing he can't stay over anymore and he needs to come get his stuff by X date. Opie, it sounds like you've been realized to think your brother's needs should come before your own. I'm telling you, your parents' request is so weird that it's almost laughable, and you should confidently ignore it and focus on improving your own life. Your brother is a grown man and is trying to take your apartment rather than find his own. Step 1. You can't stay here anymore. It breaks the lease. Step 2. When he leaves for the night shift, have the place rekeyed. Drop off his stuff with mom and dad. Step 3. Text brother, I dropped your stuff at mom and dad's. It was fun having you hang out here. Too bad about the lease. I'll let the landlord know you're interested in the place if they get an opening. Now for the update. First, I want to say thank you for all the encouragement in the comments of my last post. It took me longer to deal with this than I expected, but finally, I think I found a solution. Several people asked for an update, so here it is. So I attempted to talk to my father again, but at this point, I am assuming that a lot of the comments were right about them just wanting me to deal with my brother in their place. I took time off my work schedule to pack his things together and waited for him to crash here after work again, since I still needed a key back. Looking back, probably not the best move, but I was stressed and tired. It was an awful fight, but it did end with him eventually leaving my apartment and returning my keys. The reason I didn't get the locks changed is because my landlord reminded me that this could be very expensive and she wouldn't cover the cost for me. It's been several days, and my brother has not contacted me since, nor attempted to enter my apartment. I am still considering changing the locks and might do so soon with my landlord's permission and covering the cost myself, but it seems I have my space back. The thing that really bothers me is how my relationship with my parents suddenly suffered so much from this. My initial reaction when I asked them to help me throw out my brother and my dad responding with the apartment switch was that they couldn't be serious. Apparently they were. My mom did talk to me this week and said since I'm on good terms with my landlord, I could figure something out. It's completely ridiculous and almost comically evil at this point. I told her that's not how renting a space works. I don't even know if this is pure entitlement or ego. Doesn't matter though, I decided to lower contact with them over this until they find out what they did wrong. Regardless if they do or don't, my family are not the main characters of my life, and I am done with being a doormat to them. It took some encouragement to stand up for myself, and I want to thank everyone who gave it to me. You handled this just right. I would at least find out what changing the lock or rekeying it would cost. You can usually just change parts of it, and it's fairly easy to do it yourself. It's a valuable life skill. I took my own lock from home to home for a few years. Also, it may be cheaper to just have the lock rekeyed. Thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking for. You just changed the barrel or some such component. Cheap and easy. You do know you can change your locks yourself, right? You need a new locks, a screwdriver, and the ability to read and follow basic instructions. A power drill would be helpful, but it's not necessary. Well, it's a rental. I can't just change the locks without asking my landlord. I did it as a 20-something by myself, and it was pretty easy. Just ask your landlord if you can have the locks changed. He doesn't need to know you're the one doing it. You'll still have to buy the lock, but it's a lot better than hiring someone to do it. Then I'll ask again and tell her I'll cover the cost and look into doing it myself. Thanks for the tip. Here's what I would do, because I believe that for the sake of sanity and peace, and not being demonized for something that is an egregious ask, this is a situation that calls for a little white lie. I would say that I spoke with my landlord, and I would tell your landlord beforehand so she can back you up, and she said no, that she will be the person to choose all future tenants, and furthermore, that is not my place to simply decide who gets to live there next. That if I give up my apartment, she already has people in mind with whom she has developed a rapport and is confident that she'd enjoy them as tenants. And if I were a landlord, I would absolutely feel this way. I would definitely not allow a tenant to decide who the next tenant is going to be. And I'd be suspicious that they even suggested usurping my power. Your parents offloaded their son onto you and made it your problem, so turnabout is fair play. It's not a malicious lie. It is merely a small lie to ward off what is an exceedingly unfair demand of you and your home. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that if their third partner moves in, I'm living with my grandparents? So my 16 female parents recently made a new friend, 27 female, who it turns out is more than a friend. The way they explained it to me is that she's their third partner. I guess it's some poly thing. I don't know. I don't follow that stuff. I guess they're still married and all that, but she's more like a secondary partner. The last few months were weird, but I was managing. They'd warned me in advance if she was coming over or if they were going to her place. I could handle that, but what was awkward is that in the mornings after, she's usually still there. It's a little freaky getting ready for school and making small talk when you know why they're here. Her visits were getting more and more common, and my parents wanted to have a talk with me that she's moving in. The spare room will be her room, and they'll all live together as a throuple. I don't think I can handle that. It's just too weird, especially since she's closer to my age than theirs. Now, she's friendly enough, but it's still weird, like she's halfway between family friend and stepmom. It's not any one thing really, it's just that the whole situation is just too much too fast for me. My grandparents live nearby, and I'm always welcome to stay there. So I told my parents I'm just gonna live with them at least until I finish school. They did not take it well. They think I hate them, and I'm not being open-minded. I explained I still love them and I want to live with them, but on top of being uncomfortable, I don't want to explain to my friends who the young woman who lives in our spare room is. Plus, I admit it really does gross me out when I see this woman being affectionate with my parents. They never do anything inappropriate in front of me, but still. They said I was being bigoted and that they were disappointed in me, but let me go and said my room will be waiting for me. Now I feel awful and wonder if maybe I should have just kept my head down until college. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's asking a lot of a 16-year-old to live in the middle of a throuple. Most teenagers don't want to know anything about their parents' intimate lives, so having breakfast with their overnight guest is really a stretch. Move in with your grandparents, relax and focus in high school and don't feel guilty about it. I'm a former swinger/poly person. I cannot imagine putting my child in this kind of a situation. 2 years isn't long to wait. My partner's parents were swingers when he was a kid/teen, and the kids were scarred by it, permanently. Hard not the a-hole. Sorry that your parents want an F-buddy more than for you to be comfortable in your family home. Not the a-hole. The least they could do is allow you to move out peacefully instead of guilt trip you and call you hateful. Holy midlife crisis, Batman. I cannot agree more. This child wants and needs a family, but parents want an F-buddy. Idiots that want to celebrate this throuple fail to recognize that their new made-up word highlights a relationship shared by 3 people, and not the child. Nobody cares about your kinks, and those expecting a kid to just roll out the welcome wagon for some needy 20-some-year-old because others here need to defend their own choices are freaking selfish. Opie deserves her parents' love, attention, and resources. Poly is fine, but kids shouldn't be dragged into it. Don't bring strangers into your kid's life. Not the a-hole. Amazing how so many people who claim to be open-minded are so close-minded when others don't agree with them. If the 27 female moves in, it's going to get weirder real quick. The grandparents seem like a really good option. People are always open-minded, unless you don't validate their beliefs/lifestyles. And when I say validate, means approved, promote, and live that lifestyle too. It's like people calls you all kinds of phobic when you say you're not attracted to them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for living with my mother full-time since I'll have to share a room with my half-brother when he's born? I, 16 female, mostly live with my mom. I do every other weekend with my dad and his wife, who's pregnant with my half-brother and is due in 3 months. The issue is that my dad's place only has 2 bedrooms, so I'll have to share my room with the baby whenever I go over there. So I told my dad when they announced she was pregnant that I'm not sharing my room, especially with the baby. Last weekend was my last visit. I did that so they'll be free to get ready for the baby, which I thought they'd appreciate. I'll go over again if they happen to move somewhere with an extra room, but I'll probably be 18 before that happens. Like I said, I figured Dad would appreciate me giving him time to get ready, but instead, he's been nuts. Not only is he not talking to me, he's also saying until I grow up, I won't get to meet my brother when he's born. Not that I was looking forward to that anyway, and that he's going to have the judge make me come. Now that's not gonna work. Where I live, at my age, judges don't usually care. So I'm not worried about that. Still, he said I'm being really immature, and I need to grow up and come over again. I already told him I'm not, but now he's been calling my mom and bothering her. Not the a-hole. The baby should be in the parents' bedroom for the first 6 months to a year. There is no reason you should share a bedroom with an infant. Actually, there is a reason she needs to share a room with a baby. Who else is going to get up with a baby in the middle of the night? There's the truth of it. He wants free babysitting when she's there so he can sleep in. Not the a-hole. They're trying to make you raise their child. Run away. And Dad also doesn't want to pay ex-wife more child support because he'll have to if OP's there full-time. Ding ding ding! Winner! I can almost guarantee that's the main reason behind Dad's objections. If OP lives with Mom full-time, he has to pay more child support. If they share parenting time, this support is reduced. Aside from that, OP is not the a-hole. She's 16 and deserves to have her own space, even if not living with Dad full-time. She needs privacy and not to have to deal with a baby waking up all night long, the smell of loaded diapers in her sleeping space, etc. Trying to be fair, maybe this baby wasn't planned, and moving to a larger place is not financially possible for Dad right now, but he needs to understand where OP is coming from as well. Not the a-hole. I think your father was counting on having your forced help to make his weekends go easier. Also, he may be worried that he may have to pay additional child support if you live full-time with your mom. Either way, threatening you about withholding affection and access, both parental and sibling, is an absolute a-hole move on your dad's part. And then calling your mother to badger her is the crappy cherry on top. Don't feel bad, OP. Teens need sleep and privacy. Your dad is being the jerk here. Lol, Dad can take it in front of a judge to try to force weekend visits. But what judge is going to hear, "I want to force my 16-year-old to stay weekends and share a room with a newborn," and think, "That's a great idea and so appropriate"? The judge is going to look at your dad like a moron. The fact that he is straight up giving you the silent treatment and threatening to withhold your relationship with your new half-siblings, even if you don't want it, proves the man isn't mature enough to have 2 kids, let alone 1. Not the a-hole. Have fun at your mom's without the 2 a.m. wake-ups. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they're bad parents to me? I, 16 female, am the oldest of 5, and my parents have a hard time supporting our family. It wasn't always like this, but when I was around 7 or 8, my dad's company folded and life changed a lot. At the time, my mom was pregnant with my 3rd sibling. Life changed a lot, but mostly for me. As the oldest, they figured I should make sacrifices so my siblings wouldn't have to, and I went along with it for a long time. But in the last 2 years, it has been making me bitter and resentful. I think the reason I feel this way is I had a field trip come up that my whole class was going on, and I wanted to go so bad. It would have been the first field trip in 6 years, and it would have been great to go with my friends. Before, there were always others who didn't go, but that year everyone was going. And my parents couldn't make it work because my younger siblings had theirs coming up. It was like a switch flipped, because before, I just kind of accepted that as the oldest, I needed to be more understanding. But suddenly, I wasn't okay with it. I don't feel like I should be sacrificing again and again so my siblings can have a childhood with fun stuff. I think we should all get something on occasion. But my parents didn't want to listen then when I tried to bring it up, so I dropped it. With everything in the past year, stuff has been even more rough. I ended up getting a job during COVID so I could maybe treat myself on occasion and save for stuff my parents couldn't save for. I hit a breaking point 2 weeks ago. My sister's birthday was coming up, and my parents' money that was saved for her gift went onto the electrician instead. And since they know I work, they asked me to give them my money for her gift. Not let them borrow. No talk of even paying me back. Just give it. I said no, and they told me to think of my sister. I snapped and told them I was tired of them being better parents to my siblings than me, and it was clear they didn't give a damn unless it's them. Of course, it resulted in a fight, and now I'm being blamed. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents now take you for granted. You are not the 3rd parent. Is there any other adult relative you can lean on? Do you have plans for the future? If you're planning on college or extensive post-high school vocation training, you need to make sure you take care of that. And don't let your parents demand you sacrifice that future to take care of your siblings. Do not give them the money. I'm betting they didn't do anything for your birthday. I can't help but wonder if Opie's parents will expect Opie to work after school to pay for siblings' college. Not Nahal. They should be treating all their kids equally. You didn't have a field trip in 6 years. They should have made an effort to make sure you got one. What did they get for you for your birthday? I'm guessing nowhere near as much as they want to spend on your sister? As soon as it is legal to do so, make sure they have no access to your money. In some countries it is 18, but in others it is less. Hopefully that is the case for you. And while they can control your bank account, hide the money elsewhere and safe enough so they can't accidentally find it. Not Nahal. Your parents shouldn't have had more children than they can afford to raise, and you have every right to point this out. I'm really sorry you're in this situation, and I hope you get to go on your trip. Exactly. What were they thinking? That more babies would help their financial problems? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I warned you when our son got a lock for his room? So here's the problem. My son Simon, 16, moved out of the room he used to share with his little brother and got his own room a few months back. Ever since, has been complaining about his mom barging in without knocking and interrupting his sleep and studying, sometimes when he's changing. I know that she's his mother, but he says he's got his own room and has a job and is learning to become an independent adult, but doesn't feel like his privacy is being respected even when that's his mom. He says he's not a kid anymore and is entitled to at least get a knock on the door before she comes in. He was getting tired of her not listening to him, so he came to me and said, Dad, you need to help me set some clear boundaries with Mom. So I spoke to her about her need to knock before entering Simon's room. She was like, What? And no, we're family, not strangers. Do you really expect me to foolishly knock on the door 5 times a day? That's ridiculous. Also said, Who knocks doors in their own home? I told her my family, for instance. She made a face, then went on a rant about how my family hate each other, and the way they treat each other like they were strangers is shameful. I told her family are strangers, it's about respecting one's privacy. We had an argument about it, and I told her if she wasn't going to stop with the barging and refuse to knock on the door before entering, then our son will get a lock. She did it again at 11 p.m. She barged in when our son was asleep. He jumped up because he got scared. Once he told me this, I told him to go ahead and get a lock and pay for it with his own money. There was literally no other way. My wife saw it and got upset. And my brother was visiting when she was raising her voice at me, questioning if I really went ahead and got a lock for Simon despite her disapproval, and said that I caught her off guard. And it's not okay because this teaches our children that they can manipulate one parent into doing what they want. I told her that A, Simon got the lock, not me, and B, I already warned her about the possibility of him getting a lock because he was getting tired of her boundary crossing, so she should have expected this outcome. She mentioned the same above points in her defense and said locks mean secrets, and that's not good. My brother was sitting watching while she was complaining. She began chewing him out when he asked her to let Simon keep the lock and said it wasn't a big deal. She stopped talking to me and Simon till we removed the lock, but I have no intentions in doing that. Was I at fault for my stance? I think your wife is a Nahal, but the way you handled it with your wife was cowardly. You supported what your son did. In fact, you told him to do it, but then you played stupid by essentially saying he paid for it. I had no part in it. If you believed in your son's position, you should have supported that to your wife. In fact, if you felt so strongly, you should have told her the next time you do that, I will personally install a lock on his door. Everyone sucks here, except Simon. I agree. You sort of threw your son under the bus here. Sorry that your wife didn't handle her end well. It's totally respectful to knock on doors even in your own home. My 3-year-old has no problem with this concept, but your son needed more backup than you gave him. Everyone sucks here. Yo, seriously. My 3-year-old knocks, and we knock before we go in the bathroom to help her wipe. Sure, privacy is a bizarre concept in terms of she doesn't have secrets, really. But you model the behavior you expect from them, and it pays off. When you think they're asleep. The mom in this post is going to wonder why her children don't visit or call her, talk to her about stuff when they're adults / out of the house. And this is part of the reason. Not today, Hull. So, do you have intimacy with your wife with the door open? Do you shower with the door open? Poop. There are reasonable things that one does in private that even a mother does not need to know about. much less see. Especially if you're a 16-year-old dude with raging hormones. Not Dayhall. What the hell? Why is this such a big deal for her? It's unreasonable to put up a fight against someone who's telling you to just knock before entering their private space. Good on you for advising him to get a lock. Also, why is she going to his room at 11 at night? Has she always acted like this, or is it new behavior? It's a big deal for her because she feels her authority as his mother is slipping away, and she doesn't like it. I had kids young, and both my and my ex-wife's primary identities were parent. As the kids got older, I worked to transition away from that, but she found herself very adrift as a mother who didn't have young children anymore, and she kind of lost her way. Maybe something like that is happening here. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter go on a diet? My wife and I have been married for 17 years. We have a 14-year-old daughter, and we have 4 other children. Our daughter is a beautiful girl, and she was quite skinny when she was young. But since entering her teenage years, she has gained a little weight. She is by no means fat or even overweight, but just not as skinny as she was when she was a kid. She's tall at 170 centimeters, 5'7", and weighs 64 kilograms, 143 pounds, with BMI of about 22, which is not considered overweight. But my wife is concerned because of her weight gain from when she was 12 to now. She does ballet and gymnastics, so she stays active. However, my wife is taking a more drastic approach and wants to put her on a diet while she's home for the summer holidays. My wife so far started nudging her to eat healthier. Last dinner, during supper, as my daughter asked for another slice of pie at dessert, my wife made a face and told her you've had enough. My wife has also told our cook not to make her any desserts or unhealthy fried snacks. She is also working with a dietitian to make a weight loss plan for her. My daughter seems to have noticed her mother's disapproval, and their relationship has become strained. It doesn't help that my wife keeps mentioning how thin our younger daughter, 11, is. I think part of this stems from my wife's background as a fashion model. She has been underweight for her entire life. When she was in her teens/early 20s, she was skeletal. She was 180 centimeters, 5'11", and 53 kilograms, 116 pounds, at her lowest weight. Now she is a healthier weight, but still very thin. I butted heads with my wife today after she got upset at our daughter for getting ice cream with a friend. She said this was her 4th time this week eating ice cream, and that she needs to be more serious about eating better. I told my wife she's been controlling and making our daughter self-conscious. My wife said she needs to toughen up and make better choices, or else she will end up fat. Of course, this conversation was not in earshot of our daughter, but still, I was shocked at my wife for saying that. I agree with encouraging her to make healthier choices, but flat out veto the idea of putting her on a diet plan with the goal of losing weight. She called me an enabler and accused me of spoiling her. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your wife needs to shut up before she gives your daughter an eating disorder. I'd honestly give an ultimatum at this point. How is the daughter in a situation similar to this one? My mom bullied me into developing anorexia. Same, bulimia. Anti-A, anti-A, anti-A. Please don't let your wife do this. She's steering your daughter towards a lifelong and healthy relationship with food. She's literally a teenager. She's supposed to weigh more than she did 2 years ago. She's growing strong and her body's maturing. Of course she weighs more. Your wife, from her background, probably has her own issues with eating. Do not let her pass on her own insecurities to your daughter. Also, she does gymnastics and ballet. Muscle weighs more than fat. Your wife seems to think that if you're not supermodel stick thin, you're fat. That's extremely unhealthy outlook to have, and even worse to pass on to your daughter. Not the a-hole, and do not let your wife do this. Not the a-hole. Your wife is driving your healthy and athletic daughter towards self-esteem issues and a possible eating disorder. Your former fashion model wife is obsessed with being model thin, which more often than not is underweight, which isn't necessarily healthy. Your daughter is a growing, adolescent dancer and a gymnast, which means that she's not only going through hormonal changes, but as an athlete, her body mass has more muscle, which is heavier on a scale. Your wife needs to be less focused on the appearance of thinness and numbers on a scale and more about your daughter's overall health. Have your wife talk to your daughter's doctor and go with her medical advice. You may also want to have your daughter talk to a therapist. Good luck. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting a birthday party that has to be shared with my sister? My 15 female, sister 12 female, and I have birthdays 1 month apart. Mine in June and hers in July. The other night, my parents told me they couldn't afford for both of us to have birthday parties, or in my case have a night at a movie with some friends and a sleepover after. So they have decided we should celebrate together, at the house, with our friends and mine. I'll be 16 and she'll be 13. That sounds like a hellish birthday celebration. Hanging around a bunch of 12/13-year-olds, and my sister annoying me the whole time, because every birthday, she insists on me playing with her or bouncing her in the bounce house. And if it's supposed to be about me too, then I don't want that stuff. So I told my parents it was okay, I didn't need to celebrate. I'd rather just let it be her birthday party. They're mad because my sister was so excited by the idea. They told her a week before me, and now I've said no and she was already expecting it. They're also mad because I showed no excitement. They asked if there was any way to change my mind, so I said, what about just a sleepover for me separate from the joint party? And they said no, and why not have my friends sleep over that night after the party since my sister will be doing the same? We did that once. Just 2 regular sleepovers, and my sister and her friends took over the whole thing and wouldn't stop bugging us. My parents think it's unfair to turn down a party that would include both of us, and said I should be grateful for any birthday party. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and your suggestion of a sleepover for me separate is a good one. It costs next to nothing to have friends sleep over. Whatever food/cake expenses are there would have been more or less built into the joint party anyway. If you were turning 3 and 6, fine. If you were turning 30 and 33, fine. The 3 years between 13 and 16 are a chasm. Hope your parents reconsider, and if they do not, pick the lesser of 2 evils. Having the joint party or having no party. Happy birthday in any event. The lesser of 2 evils is definitely not having the party. At least in my eyes it is. Would one of your friends host you that night? Acknowledged. It is super rude to ask. If a sleepover would make you happy and commemorate the night for you, and get you away from a bunch of 13-year-olds at no expense to your parents, it may work out for everyone. Not the a-hole. If they wanted to celebrate you, they'd do something you wanted. They want to get credit for celebrating you when it's all about your sister. Not the a-hole. This above post is right. I had to share a birthday party with my brother the entire time growing up, because his birthday was 364 days behind mine, and the party swiftly became all about him, only son. It was a time of celebration for him. Cake, presents, etc. For me, not even a cake. No cards, no presents, because my birthday happened to be the next day. This happened each and every year. And when I left home, they totally ignored my birthday. Not even a phone call. It starts with a shared birthday and goes downhill from there. Not always, but they rarely turn out well. OP is stand your ground. Your parents don't have to spend money. A cake can be made at home. A sleepover is inexpensive. Don't let this shared birthday party happen. It builds resentment between siblings rather than fosters care and happiness. One of you, either you or your sister, will feel left out/abandoned. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister out financially even though I can afford to? I, 34 female, am the eldest of 9 siblings. My sister, Sarah, 24, and I aren't close. I love all of my siblings, and I'm close with all of them, except for her. Growing up, she wouldn't introduce me to her friends and would refuse to acknowledge me at family gatherings over the years. In short, she was distant with me but not my other siblings. After I moved out of my parents' house, Sarah and I grew further apart and didn't see each other except at family functions. She would ignore my attempts at reaching out and or including her in anything that my other siblings and I did together. She didn't come to my wedding. I didn't even know that I'd gotten divorced until 2 years later. She refused to accept my request to add her to socials and never responded to any calls or texts. It hurt, but I didn't want to push, thinking that she might eventually come around so long as I kept the door open. A year ago, she finally accepted my social media request and sent me a DM. It started out as just a, "Hey sister, how are you?" After some awkward small talk, I learned that she's not doing well financially due to her boyfriend losing his job. She asked me if I could lend her some money as she was short for groceries. I agreed and told her that she didn't have to pay me back. I sent what she asked for and a bit extra. She thanked me and asked if we could visit for a proper catch-up. I agreed, and we set it up. The visit came and went, and she didn't show up or answer my call/texts. I assumed that something came up and texted that she let me know when we could reschedule. 2 days later, she DM'd saying her cell phone had been cut off for non-payment. She asked for help to get it reconnected and said she'd pay me back when she could. I agreed and sent it to her. A few days later, and she asked for more money. I sent her the money again, but told her that I can't send anything else until she pays me back because I didn't have any more that I could spare. I felt like I've been used. Then one day she asked for a cab fare. I said that I'd pick her up and drive her myself. She got angry and accused me of not trusting her. She blasted me on a family group chat saying that I was refusing to help her and that I was selfish. Sarah recently posted something about how she loves her family and how much they mean to her. She tagged all of my siblings except for me. 5 minutes later, she sent me a text asking me for money for diapers, and I lost it. I asked her why she only ever contacts me when she wants money, and that I was feeling used. She denied it and said she was angry that I could accuse her of such a thing. I sent her screenshots to prove it. She said, just forget it then. I tried to apologize for being rude, and she ignored me. A few days ago, she asked for help paying for rent and offered to repay the loan as soon as she could. I could help, but I don't want to. I feel like I'm being used. It hurts that she only ever contacts me when she wants money. So, am I the a-hole? Why do you feel bad for accurately calling her out for using you? Like, totally not the a-hole. Please stop funding her life. You're so desperate for a relationship with her that you're allowing her to manipulate you into giving money. Don't fall for that crap. I feel bad because I don't want my nieces to go without. My family and I try to look out for one another without getting into each other's personal lives or finances without invitation. There was a bit of parentification going on when I was a kid too, so I kind of see her as a daughter of sorts. Still not your issue. She is an adult and is responsible for her decisions and kids. She is using you. Try reading what you just wrote, but pretend a friend wrote it. Often we are too close to a situation to see the truth. Don't give her any more money. Best of luck to you. I am huge into family, but not to the point of being used. You are the oldest. Stop being passive and get a straight answer by asking straight questions. Start asking the other siblings what her problem is. Why is she leaving you out and excluding you? Make this a family issue since Sarah keeps reiterating that she is into the family. Info, I feel like we're missing something big here. Do you know why Sarah's always been so distant with you? I think it's because she and I are so far apart in age. I don't really know, to be honest. Not the a-hole, but refusing her could put you in a bad situation with the family. Have you talked to your family about this? Maybe point out that she blatantly left you out of her post about family and show them your receipts of her only contacting you for money. I've talked with a sister and brother that she's closest to about it. They said they talked to her, but that I should just let it go and stop trying so hard to win her affection. They said that I need to just stop sending her money. Apparently she used to hit them up all the time until they cut her off financially, and said that she's a grown woman who can and should take care of herself. There's your answer. Cut her off. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for pressing charges on my mom when my family told me not to? I, 18 female, and my boyfriend, 22 male, have been living in our first apartment together for a while now, completely independent from our parents. I have never had a good relationship with my mom, 37 female. I had been taken away from her for severe neglect as a young child and was raised by my great-grandparents, 84 male plus 80 female. She wasn't a part of my life for 13 years. When my grandparents eventually passed from old age, she regained custody and moved me across the province I live in. Anyway, when we had settled in our new place, because I have better credit than my boyfriend, we were looking into getting our Wi-Fi under my name. But when I called the best provider in our little rural area, they explained to me that I owe them over $800, which couldn't make any sense as I've never had an account with them in the first place. They gave me the address and the year that it had first been owned, and it was one of the first places I had lived with my mom. I had been 15. We were on civil terms, and I let her know that because I just had a new job and have moved out. Note that I haven't lived with her since I was 15. I've mainly lived with friends as she's pretty crazy, that I won't give her money for my phone bill that I didn't owe her. But was going to anyway until she paid a balance owing under my name. Because not only was my credit now horrible, but we couldn't get Wi-Fi, and that's something I needed for school/work. She blocked me, cut my phone off, and went to my in-laws to try and break up my relationship with my boyfriend. The only way the money owed can be waived is if I press charges for fraud, but when I asked for advice, it was met with, "How can you do that to your mom? She wouldn't be able to get divorced then. She's on her fourth husband and she had cheated on him. How is that my problem? Anyway, am I the a-hole? Should I do it?" You don't press charges. The province does. The fraud can be shown with your birth certificate. You're not old enough to sign a contract when this account was opened, so provider was negligent. You probably have to file a report with the police, but nothing much will happen to your mother. P.S. Get a credit report because she didn't just do this once. This is good advice. She stole money from you and tried to sabotage your relationship with your partner. This is astonishing and abnormal. You don't owe her anything. It seems like you can't demand your overly strenuous relationship either way, so you have nothing to lose. It may seem bad from an external perspective to people who don't know the situation well, but their opinion doesn't matter. Only yours. You need to cover this debt, fix your credit, and get a Wi-Fi, which is crucial for your studies and work. The real question is, how can your mother do that to you? She was an egg donor who has abandoned her responsibility to you, and has literally committed a crime by stealing your identity and leaving you with a bad debt that's harming your ability to live your life successfully. Will these relatives who don't want you to press charges pay the bill? If not, then ignore them for suggesting you just eat your mother's crime. If the mom did it here, how many more lines of credit/accounts did she open in Opie's name? Continue with the charges. She does not have your best interest in mind. Also, the company entered into a contract with a minor, which is illegal. Minors cannot be in a contract in the US. Apparently, your mom represented herself with your name, but the company did not do due diligence to avoid providing service to a minor. Access a free credit report every year starting now. Identify if other illegal charges are there. Best to you. Opie's in Canada, I believe, based on province, so the Crown presses charges, not an individual. Also, it is illegal here too, just so you know. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not involving myself in my ex-husband's child's life? I'm 25 female, ex-husband 29 male, and I divorced a year ago after I found out that he had an affair son, Carl, 1 male. By that time, I already had Adam, 3 male, and Ben, 1 male. Since my husband had an affair, he lost any right to alimony or child support from my part due prenup stipulations. He also lost his job at my dad's and a car. When he came back begging me for an opportunity, he disclosed that Carl's mom passed away during childbirth, and we were the only family he had. I was hurt for his betrayal, but yet I still felt love for this man, and didn't want to hurt a motherless child, so I told him that I would revoke his mandatory child support payments, because I don't really need them thanks to my dad, so he could focus on doing what was best for Carl and that anything he did, monetary, for our kids was welcome but not necessary. The problem was that, a few months after the divorce, he grew comfortable enough to ask me about how to take care of a child, to the point where he would try to leave me with Carl while I explained. After I realized what was he doing and when I confronted him, he admitted that he was trying to create a bond between us so his child could have a mom too. I immediately put Carl in his arms and said that while I was sorry for the loss of his mother, I'm not willing to play mommy of his affair kid and to never bring the subject again. He told me how unfair I was being, because now that he's young, it's the perfect time to make an introduction, and how awful it will be for Carl to see his brothers grow up with me. I felt pressured, so I took our kids and told him to contact me again through a lawyer for any future discussion. When I got home, I told my family what happened, and while almost everyone agreed with me, my mom said that I was a horrible human being because that child had no mother, and that she raised me better than this. My dad tried to defend me as well as my sisters, but my mom said that what happened between my ex and I didn't have anything to do with an innocent child, and she hopes I do the right thing, and I love the child. She's also pressuring me to buy things for the kid and make space in my home, such as giving him a bedroom at all, because she won't allow that I take my kids home and he's left there alone. But I said that I don't want to involve myself with him, and now she's not talking to me unless I agree. Now for the top comments. Yikes. Not today, home. Girl, I'm throwing you a parade for your fantastic boundaries and compassion. The dude broke your trust and your heart, and then took advantage of your gracious decline of child support. His decision to have an affair behind your back and then insist you be responsible to mother the child is abhorrent. Your mom sounds like she is grieving that he is no longer her son-in-law and wants everything to feel like a family again. She probably figures since the other woman has passed away, all harm is bygone, and now everything can go back to the way it was. That's absolutely not the case. It's absolutely on your ex-husband to parent the child, which probably has him beside himself with the responsibility he resents. The child's loss of a mother is tragic, but no reasonable person could believe that your presence could right that wrong. His mother has passed away, no one can replace her. His dad cheated on you and has flat out admitted to manipulating you multiple times to make his life more convenient. The baby deserves better 100%, but that doesn't obligate you to put up with worse. Maybe your mom should adopt him. That child is nothing more to you than every other motherless child in the land. Suggest, sincerely, that your ex get busy and find a loving and gentle new wife who wants to be a mother to his child. There are lots of women out there who would be interested. My infertile friend actually married a widower with 3 kids and admitted it was as much to be a mom as to be a wife. Several years in, they are very happy. I disagree the child is nothing to her. It's her children's sibling. This is a stickier situation than it could be because their half-brother is going to feel left out. Is that her problem to fix? No. She's not a-hole for boundaries, but I can't help but feel for a kid that's gonna see his brothers go spend time with mom when he doesn't have one. Dad could use that time to make his son feel special, or he could be an A. That's not Opie's responsibility at all, but my heart hurts for that kid, and I get her mom's point. Hopefully as they get older, she might allow sleepovers if the older two ask for him to come over, but she wouldn't have to. It would be noble of her to do it on her own volition, but Dad is being sneaky and a jerk about things. I see your point, sort of, but not really. Why should a woman and her kids be forced to even know or ever meet the children the man sires on mistresses, one-night stands, or affairs? Sure, they are siblings in the sense of the man's DNA. Why is that even important? Why can't they be thought of as a sperm donor's other offspring? Why all the sibling stuff? NTA, NTA, NTA. I'm horrified at your mom's suggestions. It's an affair child for crying out loud. How would your mom feel if your dad suddenly came home with an affair child? Not very good, I'd suppose. It would ruin the family, I presume. Now, your kids are still young, but if they were any older and they understood this, they probably won't be very welcoming of this kid too. You are not a saint, and you do not owe that child and your ex anything. No, no, no. Even if the child did nothing wrong, why do you have to live with the proof of your ex's infidelity? It would take a toll on you and affect your emotions. How would your mom feel if your dad suddenly came home with an affair child? She would probably take him in. My mom herself is an affair kid. She says that not having someone loving you or accepting you is horrible, and that I'm in a position to help because the baby's young, motherless, I have the time and money, so I have to do what's best. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my nephew it's not his birthday? My daughter's 7th birthday was yesterday. We went by my mom/her grandma yesterday for dinner, cake, and gifts. My brother and my nephews were there too, and daughter gets along well with her cousins. My mom has this birthday crown that she has the kids wear when it's their birthday. One of my nephews, 5, asked my daughter if he could wear the crown for a little bit. She agreed. Then when we were doing cake, he asked her to help her blow out candles. She said sure. I kinda looked at my brother, hoping he'd say something to his son, but he didn't. Then when we were giving my daughter her gifts, my nephew, who still had a crown on, asked my daughter if he could help her open her presents. I stepped in and said, "No, it's her birthday, not yours. Let her open her gifts by herself." My nephew seemed kinda pouty. Thing about my daughter is she's too nice sometimes, and has a hard time if she thinks saying no will hurt feelings. This seemed like one of those times. Later, my brother said nephew was just having fun. It wasn't that big of a deal. The brother and his wife let him open their gifts on their birthdays, that he knows they're not his gifts to keep. I said, yeah, but that's you, an adult. She's a kid and should get to celebrate her own birthday without sharing it. My brother said I'm teaching my daughter to be mean. Am I the a-hole? He is teaching his son that he always has to get his way and be the center of attention. 5 is plenty old enough to realize that other people matter, and not every day is about them. His kid is being raised to be entitled. Wait till he tries that at a school friend's birthday party. This happened at a party when my daughter was in kindergarten. One of the attendees had an absolute screaming meltdown because she was not allowed to blow out the birthday child's candles, nor open the presents. Turned out to be the child my daughter had talked about all year who was always throwing tantrums. We did not invite her to my daughter's party that following summer. Not a day home. You're teaching your daughter it's okay to say no and have boundaries. A nephew needs to learn how to hear no and respect boundaries. This is important. OP, I don't want to put the fear of God into you over an interaction between 2 cute little kids, but do not let your brother teach your daughter that saying no is being mean. Jesus freaking Christ. This is so important. Not stay home. Teach your daughter that saying no is her right and doing so is not mean, no matter how bratty her cousin is. Also, give the girl back the birthday crown for crying out loud. Who does that? Am I the a-hole for telling my surrogate to stop acting like she was my husband's wife? My husband and I have been together for 5 years. We wanted kids, but because of my health problems, this wasn't possible. So we decided to go with surrogacy, and my friend nominated her sister, Brittany, 29. I agreed right away because I know Brittany and the family. We've set everything up, discussed payment, short and long-term plans, counseling, and doctor appointments. Then we explored IVF and chose a private clinic to get it done. It started after Brittany took a pregnancy test. She only told my husband, though she had both error numbers. She only sent my husband a picture of the test while he was at work and sent me nothing when I gave her my personal contact information, but it was okay. Things got complicated when Brittany started having access to our credit cards for her own wants and claimed they were the baby's needs. She excluded me from doctor visits and scans and had only my husband go with her. Her excuse was that my husband drives and has time, since I work and unavailable most of the time. I felt isolated from this experience, but said nothing knowing she's bearing a lot of burden, so I had patience. My husband had no idea what was going on and if this was normal, as this was new to us, so we didn't know. She's 7 months in, and last week she had us visit to discuss things that I thought we'd previously agreed on, but she said she changed her mind about. And her mom was there too. I heard Brittany out and was shocked when she gave a list of how things should be from now on, since she said there was a lot of confusion in the past because of me stressing her out by complaining. She requested she get saying things like baby name after I deleted the list of names she sent to my husband. She wanted more access to my husband's credit card / free time to get stuff done at her place. Also, more time with the baby than agreed on. Then I wrapped up by saying only my husband should be with her in the delivery room and use the hospital as excuse. I got up and firmly stated I don't agree on her new terms, and that she had to stop acting like she was my husband's wife and this was their baby. My husband didn't speak till she started crying. He asked me to sit down, but I said I had boundaries, reminded her what her role was and how she overstepped. Her mom went off and said her daughter was being mistreated when she put herself mentally and physically through the most selfless act for us, to make us a family. She gave up a part of her life in those months to give us what we want, and I was acting selfish and ungrateful. She had us leave, then told my friend, and it got more complicated. I was told to apologize for what I said. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, we agreed on paying for the surrogacy like I stated above. So no favors or anything. No, we did not have a legal contract because my friend said there was no need for us to do that, and basically talked us out since we are considered family, but we had an agreement including paying her. Question about whether Brittany had kids of her own. She was a single mom of a 4-year-old who passed away from an accident. She had him at a young age, but she always seemed in good mental and physical health. Now for the top comments. This may be above Reddit's pay grade. Okay, so there's no legal contract. Is there at least a written contract? A voice recording of the agreement? Text? Emails? Anything at all? Lawyer up immediately, OP. I feel for you. Edit. A lot of people have said, and I agree, that something really fishy is going on here. Has Opie answered whose egg this is? How the insemination was done? Why her husband is so okay with Opie being cut out? This could be anything from Brittany seeing an opportunity for a free baby and child support, to Opie's husband and Brittany being on some kind of gross, twisted scheme. There is so little information here that I have just so many questions. I can only sum up this post with oof. I would like to add another oof. Let's add a third oof. Surrogate is a mother to a baby who sadly passed away. So no live babies at the moment. Who in their right mind thought a mother who lost her only baby was a good candidate for surrogacy? Surrogates go through extensive psychological evaluation, and I have serious doubts she would pass. Opie and husband majorly dropped the ball here. Sounds like they let this friend steamroll them into selecting her sister without any pushback at all. No one with Opie's best interest at heart would have pressured her into foregoing a lawyer. Fred is looking out for her sister, and only her sister. And I kinda suspect they're deliberately scamming this couple. Oh, absolutely. It looks to me that this friend saw how her sister was depressed after losing her baby, and there was probably no father in the picture to try again, or money to go through IVF on her own, so they saw this as their chance to have a baby. This is why surrogacy is so heavily regulated. Was there a contract? If not, yikes. Get a lawyer ASAP. Surrogates have no business being involved in naming the baby or dictating time spent with the child. Red flags abound. You're not the a-hole, but you may have put yourself in a situation where an unstable person could now have leverage to essentially be a third parent to your child. Or a single parent. She doesn't want you at the delivery, so she can just claim the baby for herself. Edited to add, after seeing your edits about the surrogates having lost a 4-year-old, she is 100% planning to keep the baby. Whether she also tries to take your husband and just claim child support is up in the air. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter to leave my husband alone? I have 3 children, 10 female, 22 male, and 24 female. The older 2 are from my first marriage. Their father died when they were 5 and 7, and I married their stepfather 4 years later. From the very beginning, my daughter had a difficult time adjusting. She never saw my husband as a father figure. Unlike my son, it took to him very quickly. We tried everything, including therapy, but it didn't do much. She was rude with him all the way through her teenage years, refused to be parented by him, cussed him out, told him he wasn't her father and that she wanted nothing to do with him, etc. My husband, if I might say so, was incredibly patient. He never pushed too hard, respected her boundaries, and always listened to me when I told him to back off. But he did catch a lot of verbal mistreatment, and I sometimes feel guilty not being stricter with her. She moved out at 18 for college, and we paid for her education. Things have become civil since then, but still cold. Now recently, my daughter has been trying to fix things with her stepfather. She wants to join him and her brother for their monthly fishing trips, but my husband is reluctant. He's not interested in fixing things. He believes his duty is done now that she's an adult, and that he's going to live his life in peace now. My son doesn't care either way. This breaks my heart as I want us to be a proper family. My daughter has been repeatedly asking me to intercede on her behalf, and I have, but it seems like it's only making things more tense. So I told her that maybe it is best to leave him alone. Maybe time will make things better. Or maybe it won't, and that she will have to accept that possibility as well. She says I'm a major a-hole for being so fatalistic. Am I the a-hole? No a-holes here. Sometimes timing sucks and just can't be helped. You are ready to move on with a new husband. That's okay. Your daughter wasn't ready for a new father or a stepfather. That's okay. Your husband did his best. That's good. Your daughter is grown up and is ready to be more mature about things. That's good. Your husband has been hurt in the past and is reluctant to take more emotional risks. That's okay. While time doesn't heal all wounds, time may help here. One can't see the future, but one can have hope. I completely agree. My only suggestion to OP would be, rather than her daughter interjecting on an already established bonding activity between son and stepfather, that they try something independent from these trips. Start small, like a movie or craft beer/wine, or museums. Anything that they can both discuss and bond over. A fishing trip is too long, and too much after so little involvement. Any relationship that they develop will need to be on their own terms, and centered on things they have in common. Short activities with lots of neutral things to discuss, example, a museum where you can talk about what you were seeing, are probably the easiest first steps. But not right away. He didn't force her to accept him back then. She can't force him now. This will take time and effort. It's not as easy or simple as her suddenly joining the fishing trips and pretending everything's cool. Not day hall for supporting your husband's boundaries and emotional health. Sure, except one was a child, processing serious grief. That's true. Still doesn't mean they can flip a switch and suddenly have a great relationship now. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick my son out? My husband and I have 6 kids. Elizabeth 20, Thomas 18, Addie 10, Olivia 8, Michael 7, and Grayson 3. My husband and I made a rule for our kids that once they turn 18/graduate high school, they have 3 options. 1, go to college and live rent-free. 2, get a job and pay rent. 3, move out. With either option, if you live at home, you'll be expected to do chores, which does occasionally include babysitting or driving the younger kids somewhere. We give them until the start of the next school year to figure it out. Elizabeth has never had a problem with this. She's about to start her 4th year of college, and when she's not in school, she babysits twice a week to help us out. She's great with her siblings and generally has a good attitude. Thomas is a completely different story though. He told us he wants to take a year off before college to relax and figure out what he wants to do. We said okay, and reminded him that if he still wants to live here, he needs to get a job and pay rent. We're not asking for anything crazy. A part-time job at Burger King is fine with us, as long as he's able to contribute. He got a part-time job at a deli making approximately $1,000 to $1,500 a month, and we charge him $300 a month. The problem is he's been refusing to do any chores since he pays rent. He's also rude to me and my younger kids, especially Addie. Addie has anxiety, SPD and dyspraxia and is very clumsy. If she drops or spills anything near him, he screams at her and curses her out. If I ask him to watch a couple of the kids so I can take 1 or 2 to an appointment, he yells at me for making him parent my kids and tells me I need to step up instead of relying on him and their nanny. Honestly, I'm getting tired of his attitude. And Addie's scared to eat or drink in the same room as him because she's scared of getting yelled at. I talked to my husband about kicking him out, and he agrees that Thomas needs to help out around the house and be nicer to me and the kids. But he thinks kicking him out is too harsh since we live in an area with a high cost of living, and he doesn't make enough to support himself. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick him out? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. My siblings and I grew up under these same rules. What my mom did to my brother was build him the costs he would actually be paying in the real world if he was living in the same setup with roommates instead of family, including laundry and maid services, electricity, water, phone service, meal service, etc. She walked him through the bill and explained why each portion was owed, and then told him he could reduce his bill by instead of paying mom to do his laundry or cleaning or cooking, he could do it himself and save those costs. You get the idea. My brother decided the rent he was being charged and the chores he was asked to do was way better than paying the higher costs without the chores. That's a good idea. This kid needs a real wake-up call about how much things actually cost. The absolute horror that some posters have about, gasp, babysitting is laughable. How dare you ask him to babysit when he pays you $300 whole for rent? He wanted his path. He chose to work instead of going to school. He wanted to do that while remaining in his parents' house. He pays a measly $300 for a room, common areas, utilities, groceries, etc. He is refusing to help out around the house and is being horrible to his sister, who is a child. I think kicking out right away is overly harsh. I think Opie needs to have a very serious conversation with him to reiterate his options. Staying at home means helping out and being respectful/not horrible. He will never find somewhere to live for $300. So this is his final warning to straighten up. Opie has a child to protect. Addie's only 10 and deserves to feel safe. I have very little sympathy for an 18-year-old who is tormenting a special needs 10-year-old. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If your husband agrees he needs to be nicer and help out, then what is your husband willing to do if your son continues to do neither? He wants to talk to him and hope he listens. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother I'm not taking on extra hardship just because I love him? My brother and I are only 11 months apart in age. He's older. So we grew up incredibly close. And when he and his late wife had kids together and I was already home with mine, he offered to help by taking them Thursdays and Fridays so they could save some money on childcare. This continued for years, and their kids are now 10, 8, and 7. My late sister-in-law died 2 years ago, and it was very rough on the kids. They were very close to their mom, and she adored them. My brother adored her too. They went to therapy for 6 months, and then 9 months after the death of his late wife, he met his current wife. It seems he felt ready to date again, and from there they moved fast. They were married October last year, and they moved in together. It was him and the 3 kids plus her and her 2 kids. I think he thought the kids would appreciate having a mom figure again, and having 2 more siblings. And he thought her kids would like having a bigger family because it was just them and their mom. But her kids have issues with each other, and they don't like my brother's kids, while my brother's kids are hurt and feel like their dad betrayed their mom, like my brother's wife is trying to replace her. The household descended into chaos and the kids fight. It was so bad, the family therapist they started to see refused to see them all together, and 2 further ones said they would not be able to do therapy as a group for a while if they switched to them. The fighting has made it hard to keep a babysitter and made childcare much more difficult for them. His stepkids don't want to be alone with him, and his kids don't want to be alone with their stepmom. So he asked me to go back to the old arrangement of having the kids after school. I told him I didn't feel like it would work for me, that I love him and will try to help him find someone. But I can't. He told me the 3 kids miss me and their cousins. I said I hadn't made the decision lightly, but after my parents' experiences with taking care of all 5 kids together and seeing how they are with each other, I feel like I wouldn't be capable of coping. He tried to use our bond to get through to me and I told him no. Then he got mad and accused me of not loving him. I told him I was not taking on the extra hardship because I love him, that he knows that's what he's asking, and that I will be here for him in ways I can be. But I cannot take on more than I can realistically handle. He said calling the kids a hardship made me an a-hole, and so did rejecting the chance to spend time with all my nieces and nephews. Am I the a-hole? NTA, NTA, NTA. Your beloved brother has a self-created mess on his hands, and he's looking to you to restore some semblance of normalcy. Except that it isn't your job. Info. Did he ask the kids what they thought about him getting married again, or what they felt about her kids? He did, but he said he didn't want them to make the rules, and he told them if they had any actual issues with any of them to let him know, but otherwise he was doing what he felt was right. And they had no specific issues, so that was it. A professional therapist can't handle all of them together, and you're supposed to be willing to take them all? Not at a-hole. If you feel so inclined, you could offer to take his 3 kids, but if you don't want to do that, you are still not at a-hole. That is not something I will offer because he already rejected it when my parents made a suggestion. Not at a-hole. 5 well-behaved kids would be a hardship. 5 kids fighting a blended family dynamic is beyond what should be asked of you. Why can't the kids go to an after-school program where they will have some distance from each other? I don't know why. The parents are probably hoping that if they force them together enough they will become friends. It won't work, and will cause more resentment and anger.